Hey everyone, welcome back to Code with Poonam. It's day 65 of our 100 days of coding challenge in JavaScript. Over the last 3 days, we have been solving the sliding window problems using the loops, right? From day 62 to day 64, okay? So today we are going to focus on another question, that is finding the first positive number in each sub-array of size k, and if there is no positive number exist in that sub-array, we are going to return 0. So this is the problem statement today we are going to focus on. So let's proceed with this question and we will move towards our VS Code. In the VS Code, if we see, we have here our question along with the sample input and output, right? So let us see here. What is the question? We have to write a JS function to find the first positive number in every sub-array of size k, right? And if no positive number exists in that sub-array, we have to return 0. Now let us come here to our input. What is the input? We have here array, right? And we have here k value, right? The k value is responsible to form our sub-array, correct? Then we have here output, okay? So let us come here and we will break down this particular question, okay? So we will have to write here what first JS function, because we have to write a JavaScript function, right? After that, what is the next important part? We have to find the first positive number in every sub-array of size k, right? So that also I'm going to put it here, okay? After that, what is the next important thing here? That if no positive number exists in a sub-array, we have to return 0. So that also I will take here and I will put it over here. So we have to make sure that we are finding the first positive number in every sub-array of size k, and if there is no positive number in that sub-array, we will have to return 0. So since we have to find the first positive number in every sub-array, we will come here and we will define our function name as what? Find first positive number, okay? So I will write here what? Find. Okay, and we will make this F capital. We will remove this space and we will make this P also capital. And we will come here and we will remove the space and we will make this N capital, and with a parenthesis, we will write here what? Our function name. So this will be our function name, find first positive number, okay? Now let us come down and we will understand the approach for this particular question, okay? Now to understand the approach, first of all, we will go to our input and output. Now what do you understand by the input? In the input, we have an array and we have the k value, right? And in the output, we have a array given, right? Now in the input, we have given an array of our 7 elements, right? Now in this array, we can form a sub-array, right? How many sub-arrays will be formed? 5 sub-arrays will be formed, right? We have seen in our previous challenges also. Let us see how the sub-arrays will be formed. Now the first sub-array will be formed 1, -2 and -3. Why? Because our k value is 3, correct? So we will have here what? 1, -2 and -3. So this will be our first sub-array. Then when you slide it, our what will be our next sub-array? Our window size will be again 3, right? So we will have here what? -2, -3 and -4. Okay. Now when you slide it again, what will be our next sub-array? It will be -3, -4 and 5. Okay. Now again when you slide, this will be our next sub-array, correct? -4, 5 and 6. And then lastly, this will be our last sub-array, right? 5, 6 and -7, correct? So totally, if you see how many sub-arrays we have formed, this was our first sub-array, right? Then this was our second. Then this was our third, correct? And then this was our fourth, and then this was our fifth sub-arrays. So totally how many sub-arrays? So I will write here how many sub-arrays? 5 sub-arrays, okay? So that is where we have in our input 5 sub-arrays. Now from each sub-array, we have to find the first positive number. So if this is our first sub-array, which is the first positive number? 1. Now if you slide it and if you go to your second sub-array, what is the positive number? No positive number, right? So that is where we have to return here 0. That is where we have written in the line number 8 that if no positive number exists in a sub-array, return 0. So that is where here we have what? 0. Okay, now when you again slide it, what is the next positive number? 5 is the next positive number, right? the first positive number. So that is where you have here 5. Now, when you slide again, what is the next first positive number? In this, we have two positive numbers, 5 and 6, but which is the first? 5, right? So that is where in the output you are getting 5. And in the last one, which is the first positive number? Again 5, right? So you have 5. So this is how our output is formed, and that also the output is in an array form. So we should not forget that our final result, whatever we are going to get it, it should be in an array form. Okay, so that was our output. Now, since we have understood how to approach to an output, now we will come here and we will write down the approach for this. Okay, how we are going to reach to that particular output. Okay, now we know when we are working within sliding window, so what we have to do here, we will have to use a nested loop itself, right? So we will come here and we will use a nested loop, right? Now in this question, how many loops we are going to use? Two loops, correct? So there will be what? I loop, and then there will be a J loop, correct? Now in I loop, what we will have, it is going to work along with the starting index, or you can say the starting point of the sub array of size k, right? So our I loop will be our outer loop, and it is going to iterate through the starting point of sub array of size k. So this is our sub array of size k, so it will slide along with it. So that is why we will have here I loop, and it will be our outer loop. Okay, so I'll just write here our outer loop. Okay, and now how it is going to work, let us come here and we will write our I loop. So I will write here what? For. Then we will write here let I is equal to 0. I should be less than or is equal to ARR dot length minus k, correct? Then I plus plus. Okay, now let us see why we have written I is equal to 0. I should be less than or is equal to ARR dot length minus k, correct? So let us see here. Now I is equal to 0. Why? Because we are working with an array, correct? So our array index starts at 0. So that is why I is equal to 0. We want to consider from our first element, right? So that's why I is equal to 0. Then I less than or is equal to ARR dot length minus k. Let us see that. Length is what? 7, right? And I will write here minus. What is our k value? 3, right? So I'm writing here 7 minus 3. That is nothing but 4, correct? So our loop will run from which point to which point? 0 to 4. So if you see, it is going to run 5 times. That means 5 sub arrays 5 times. So now we have successfully got this particular outer loop working with respect to our sub arrays, correct? Let us come here and now we will start writing our J loop. So I will write here what? J loop. What this J loop will be responsible for? First of all, it is going to gather the element of the current sub array, and then with the help of that, we can easily find out the first positive number. Okay, so that is what we are going to do. And later on, if there is no positive number in our sub array, then we will return 0. So that logic also we will have to write it, and this will be our inner loop. So I will just write here what? Inner loop. Now let us write our loop. Okay, so I will write here what? For let j is equal to I. Now why I am saying j is equal to I? Because we will be sliding along with our I, and we will be forming a new sub array, right? So this will be our first sub array, then this will be our second sub array, right? So and so on, we will get our sub arrays. Okay, now where it is going to end? So I will write here what? J should be less than I plus k. Okay, I will explain you in the iteration why I am saying it. Okay, and then we are going to increment it. Okay, now let us understand the iteration. Why I plus k? Now we know our sub array size is what? 3, right? So our internal loop should run 3 times. Okay, now let us see here. When I is equal to 0, our j will be also 0 because j is equal to I, right? And then what we have written? J less than I plus k. That means j will be less than 0 plus 3 because k value is 3. So our loop is going to run from which to which point? It will run from 0 to 2, right? Because j less than 3, correct? So we will get here output as what? 3, correct? So we will run here 3 times. 0 to 2, if you count 0, 1 and 2. So it is nothing but 3 times. So I will write here 3 times, okay? Then what happens when I becomes 1? So I will write here what? I is equal to 1, j is equal to also 1, and we will write here what? J will be less than 1 plus 3 because j is equal to I and k value is going to remain the same. So we will get here what? 4. So our loop will run from where to where point? From 1 to 3 it is going to run. And again it will be how many times? 3 times only, right? Because 1, 2 and 3, correct? So I will just write here 1 and it will be 1, 2 and 3. So it will be 3 times again. Now if you come down, I becomes 2, correct? So we will write here I is equal to 2. J will also be 2, right? And we are going to write our condition. J should be less than I plus k. That means it will be what? 2 plus 3, correct? So we will get here what? 5. So from which point to which point it is going to run? It will run from 2 to 4. If you count here, 2, 3 and 4. So again it will be 3 times only, right? So when I is equal to 3, so now next line we will write here what? When I reaches to 3. So I is equal to 3, then j will be 3, right? And what is our condition? J less than I plus k. So j should be less than 3 plus 3, that is nothing but 6. So we will run our loop from 3 to 5, that is nothing but again 3 times, right? Now when I becomes 4, so I is equal to 4, right? Then j will also be 4, correct? Now j will be less than 4 plus 3, that is nothing but how much? 7, right? So our loop is going to run from which point to which point? From 4 to 6, right? If you count 4, 5, 6, you will get here what? 3 times again. Now when I reaches 5, our I condition is going to fail because here we have calculated, right, properly that it has to run 5 times. So if you see 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4, it is 5 times only, right? That is where when I reaches 5, it is going to fail and our loop execution will terminate. So I will write here what? Termination will happen here. Okay. And that is where our loop is going to end. Okay. Now when this all is happening, okay, when we are able to find out our sub array, so every time whenever this loop is running 3 times, we are going to get our sub arrays, right? All the cases we will get our sub array, right? So I will write here what? Sub array here as well. And you can understand for the below also we are going to get our sub arrays. Okay. Now in this sub arrays, now we are going to find our first positive number. Okay. So for that we are going to now write the logic. Okay. So I will write here what? Check for first positive number. So I will write it like this. Okay. Now what we are going to write here, we will take a if condition, okay? Because we have to check, right? So that is why we need a if condition. So I will use here what? If condition, and that if condition, we will take our ARR of j value, okay? So I will write here what? If our ARR of j is greater than 0, then you please there itself break it, okay? I will write here what? Break. So there itself you break it. Now if you see here, our output is an array form. That is why what we will have to do, we will have to come here and we will declare here as a result as an empty array over here. And before breaking it up, we will have to first push this resultant into our result output. So I will be using here what? Push method, and once it is pushed out, then you break it. Hey, what do you mean by break? You please stop the execution then and there. We have found out our first positive number, okay? This is what we are going to do it, okay? Now, suppose if there is no positive number in that, here we got our first positive number, we inserted into that array, right? Now, if there is no positive number, so we will have to do check for that also. So we will come here and we will write here what? Check for no positive number, okay? So I will take this particular line and what I will write here? I will write here just no. So this will be what? Check for no positive number, okay? Now we will come down and we will write the logic. Now what we will be using? We will be using here a flag. So we will initialize a variable with a boolean value, and that variable name we will keep it as found, and we will write here what? Found is equal to false, okay? Now when this condition turns out to be true, okay? So I will write here what? This condition, if it is turning out to be true, then we will change our found value to true. So I will write here what? Found is equal to true, and then it is going to push and then it is going to break. This is what it is going to happen. Okay. So our initial found is a Boolean value, which is called as a false. Okay. So we are going to store it with a false value. Now suppose if there are no positive numbers. So what will happen to this particular condition? This condition will turns out to be false, correct? Now, in this case, what will happen to our found value? There will be no change in the found value and found will remain as false as it is, right? So, if our found is false, then we will again push. But what we have to push? We will push here a 0 value to our final array. So, we are going to use our push method, but here we are going to push a 0 into our resultant array, this array. So that is what we are going to do it. So we will be using a flag, okay? If it is found out to be true, our condition, it will turn into true. It will push whatever the value we are having and it will break it up. If it turns out to be false, then our found value will not have any change. It will remain as it is false, right? So then we will push 0 to our resultant array, and thus we will get our final resultant array with a first positive number, and thus we will get our final resultant array with a positive numbers, and wherever the positive numbers will not be there, we will get a 0 value over there. So if you see here, we are getting here what? 0, because in our second sub array there was no positive number, and that is where we got here what? 0 in our resultant array. So that is what we have to do it in our function also. So let us come down and we will implement the same thing inside our function. Okay. So let us write our function. So I will write here what? Function, and we will write here what? Find first positive number, right? And we will use here with a parenthesis, and we will come here and we will invoke it quickly. So I will write here what? Find first positive number, and in this we are going to pass our input array and our k value, right? So let us take this input array and k value and we will pass it over here. So this will be our input array and we have to pass our k value, that is nothing but 3. So I will write here what? ARR comma k, correct? And then we will come here and we will just console it out. So I will write here what? Console.log ARR comma k, and we will test this in our terminal. So let us come here and write this. So I will write here what? Node day 65 challenge, and we will hit enter. What we got? We got our input array and our k value, right? Now let us come here and we will declare a result variable and we will keep it. Okay. So I will write here what? Result is equal to an empty array. So we will initialize with an empty array to store our first positive number for each window. Okay. That is why we are doing it in the beginning itself. Now let us write our nested loop. So I will write here what? Nested loop. So now let us write our I loop. So I will write here what? For let I is equal to 0, I should be less than or is equal to ARR dot length minus k and then I plus plus. Okay. Now inside this we are going to write our J loop also. So I will write here what? For let j is equal to I, and we are going to end where j should be less than I plus k, correct? And then we are going to increment also. So I will write here j plus plus, correct? Now inside this, let us see the iteration. Okay. So I will write here what? Console.log, and we will write here inside our template literals I colon I will write, and we will write here what? Dollar of I. Okay. Then we will put comma and we will write here j colon dollar of j. Okay. Now let us see the iteration from where point to where point it is ending. So let us write here one more time. Node day 65 challenge, and we will hit enter. Okay. So if you see the iteration, what we are getting? We are getting I is equal to 0, j is running 3 times. When I is equal to 1, it is again running 3 times, right? When I is equal to 2, j is running again 3 times. And so on. When I is equal to 3, it is also running for 3 times, right? When I is equal to 4, it is again running for 3 times. And you see it is not reaching to I is equal to 5 because our condition fails and it will terminate. That is why it is not printed I is equal to 5. And if you see the same iteration we have seen here as well, right? So that is what we are printing here, okay? Now we will come here and we will write this particular conditions, okay? Now we will write here what if our ARR of J we will write, and if that is greater than 0, then you please console my value. First that I am going to do. So console.log I will write, and I will write here what ARR of J to be printed, and I will just use a break statement here, okay? Now let us come here and we will just comment this out because we will have n number of lines in the terminal. So let us come here and clear the terminal, and I will write here what node day 65 challenge, and we will hit enter. So what do we got in the output? 1555, right? Now let us push this into our resultant array. Okay, so I will write here what result dot, and I will write here our push, and I will write here what our ARR of J. Okay, now let us come here and we will print our result also. So where we will print here, we are going to print it outside. So I will write here what console.log result. Okay, and let us see what do we get now. So let us write here what node day 65 challenge, and we will hit enter. I got my array 1555. Let us check with our output array which we have. We have here 1555, but there is something inside it 0 also. Till now, we haven't written logic to get a 0 inside our array, right? We are only checking for the first positive number. We have to check if there are no positive number, please add 0 to our resultant array, right? So for that, we will use a flag to check if a positive number is found or not, okay? So we will come down and we will go inside our I loop, and we will write here what let found is equal to false. So we will initialize with a Boolean value, okay? And if the positive number is found, and after pushing, what we will do, we will update the found value to a true. So I will write here what true, okay? And then it will break it up. Suppose if any of this iteration is not going to return me the first positive number, that means this found value is not going to be changed to true, right? So it will remain as false, right? So that time we will have to push our 0, right? So what we will do here, we will come here and we will write here what if not of found, okay? I will write it like this, okay? And then we will come here and we will push our 0. So I will write here what result dot push, and we will push our 0 directly to that resultant array. So let us clear the terminal and we will rerun it one more time. So I will write here what node day 65 challenge, and we will hit enter. What do we got? See, we got our exact output, right? 10555. That is what it was expected from us, right? So that is what we have got it. Now let us come down and we will just improvise our console.log statement, right? So I will write here first positive number in sub array of size k. Okay, so let us take this and we will just put this in our template literal. So I will write here comma, and we will put it here like this, and we will put here colon, and let us take this as a dollar of a k. So whatever will be the k size, as per that we are going to get our result, okay? And I will make this F also capital, okay? Let us clear the terminal and rerun it. So I will write here what node day 65 challenge, and if you hit enter, you will get this particular 10555. Okay, now let us come here and we will just comment out the other console.log statement. So line number 34 we will comment, line number 42 will comment, okay? Let us come here and clear the terminal and rerun it. So I will write here what node day 65 challenge, and if you hit enter, you got your exact output, right? Let us come here and we will invoke it one more time. So I will write here what find first positive number, and in this I will pass inside this array only negative numbers. If I am passing a negative number, our output should be what 0 0, right? So let us try that out. So I will write here minus 13, then I will write here minus 67, minus 89, and I will keep here our window size also as 2. So that let us come here and we will rerun it. So I will write here what node day 65 challenge and we will hit enter. See what do we got? We got here 0 and 0. That is what I said. We need the output as 0 and 0. Okay. So if our window size is 2 and if we have passed this many elements inside the array and if there are only negative numbers, now it is giving me what? 0 and 0. That is what we wanted. So we have tested where the scenario was only the negative numbers. We have tested where the scenario is mix of negative numbers and positive numbers, right? And we have changed our k value also, right? So we got our exact output in the terminal, correct? Question. So now let us have a quick recap of this question. So we will go at the top and we will read this particular question. What it was been asked, we have to write a JS function to find the first positive number in every sub-array of our size k. And if no positive number exists in sub-array, then you have to return 0. Then at line number 3 and 4, we had our input and output, right? And then from line number 6 and 7, we broke this question in different lines that we have to write a JS function. And that is where we defined our JS function as what? Find first positive number with a parenthesis, right? Then we understood that we have to find the first positive number, correct, in each sub-array. And if there are no positive number, then you please return 0, correct? So then we understood our output, how we are getting the output. And on the basis of the output, we have written our approach, right? So we understood that we have to write a nested loop. So we have to take here two loops, our I loop and J loop. What is I loop doing? It is sliding, or we can say it is iterating through the starting point of our sub-array of size k. And what is our inner loop doing? It is gathering our current sub-array to find out the first positive number, right? Then we wrote our I loop where it is going to start. It is going to start at 0 and where it will end, arr.length minus k, and then we are incrementing also, right? Then we came to our J loop and we understood the iterations, right? How it is going to perform. Our J loop should only run 3 times, right? Because our sub-array size is 3, right? That is what is our k value, right? So that is what we have done here. Then we also understood then when our I loop is going to terminate, right? When it is going to terminate, when I reaches to 5, right? And we will get our each sub-array. Now from that sub-array, we have to find our first positive number, right? So since the output was in an array, we declared an empty array and we wrote our if condition, right? And then we tested the condition, and if we found out our positive number, we have to push to our resultant array. And we have to use our break also. What do you mean by break? You please stop the execution then and there, right? And then we came here and then at line number 28, we also understood if there are no positive number, then what we have to do. That is where we used here a flag, okay? So we used a variable called as a found and we passed a boolean value to it, that is false, correct? Then we understood that if our condition is going to be true, then you please change the found value to be true and you push it and you break it, right? That is where your execution stops. If this condition turns out to be false, then our found value is not going to be updated and then finally we will not have any positive value, right? So we will push 0 to our resultant array and that is where we will get our final array with a mix of positive numbers, and if there are no positive number, we will have 0 also, right? So that is what we have seen in the output also, correct? Now that is where we understood this and we wrote the same thing inside our function. We came at line number 33 and we defined our function name as what? Find first positive number, right? And there we are receiving an 2 params, right? That is ARR and K, right? Then at line number 35, we declared a variable called as a result and we passed their empty array. Why? To store the first positive number for each window, right? Now, then we came here and we wrote our nested loop, right? And now inside the nested loop, what we did, we created here flag to check if a positive number is found or not, okay? And then we came here and we wrote our condition to check our first positive number, right? If it is there, then you please add our first positive number to the result, okay? And then we wrote here break also, right? To stop the further checks once a positive number is found. And then we came here and we wrote our if not a found, then please make sure you're pushing 0 to our result array. So that is where we have done this thing. And then we came at line number 52. And what we did here, we just improvised our console.log statement and we printed this result in our console. Then at line number 54 and 55, we invoked this function 2 times with different input values, correct? Where our array was also changed and our k value was also changed. So we see it was working for both of the scenarios, right? Now we will come here and we will test it out one more time. So I'll clear the terminal and we will write here what? Node day 65 challenge, and we will hit enter. So we got our exact output, right? What was demanded from us, okay? Now I will tell you guys why this challenge is important. This challenge helps us to optimize the algorithm using the sliding window technique. It's crucial for technical interviews and real world applications like data streaming and packet processing, where we can handle large data sets more efficiently, okay? So that's all guys for today's challenge. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel for more daily coding content, and I will see you tomorrow with another exciting challenge. Till then, keep learning, keep growing and keep coding. Thank you so much guys. Take care.